And we are back. Shout out to our AV team for the stellar coverage today. And of course to all of our attendees for, like Senator Sabina said, thank you for your stamina this morning. And we're wrapping on the procurement. I think it's clear there are some issues regarding purchases under $500,000 and whether or not that added layer of check and balance, which according to everyone here has turned into a major impediment, and it kind of looks like a big part of the bottleneck, whether that's even necessary. And I know that our in-house procurement princess, Senator Sabina, is going to look at this issue and hopefully come away with a solution. I did, before we go into the asbestos at GW, I did want to kind of follow up on something that Principal Fulu had said and that I've also heard from other principals and school site staff, is this relative to the SOPs and the Munis program. So who is responsible when you guys lodge these concerns, these issues, and you run them up the flagpole to GDOE Central? Whose responsibility is it, Acting Super, if you know, to follow up and to kind of vet and deal with these many concerns that we hear are brought up to Central?
I don't know exactly who it will be, but I mean, I've always taken the position that, you know, whatever you are tasked to do with, that you need to always let the other person know what the status is. So if that is not happening, that's definitely something that I will address, you know, with our staff to make sure. And I understand that that is critical, especially for procurement. So I meet with my team every Monday to get an update of what's being done and what's going to be done for the week. And then I'll also meet with them again at the end of the week to see whether all has been accomplished. And that's how I intend then to be able to keep on top of what's going on, what's being done, what's not being done, and to be able to communicate that to the end users.
Thank you, Doctor. So again, the issues, and I've heard them from Principal Fulo and just so many different principals, is that they're doing their part according to them, that they find issues with aircon or whatever's on site at the school, they inform Central, and then sometimes nothing.
You're right, and like today, I'm supposed to meet with the principals, right, and they're going to give me the list of their concerns as well. And by keeping this weekly meeting with them, then we would definitely be on top of it, because I get it from the principals, I'll go to meet with the division heads, and then the last will be the management.
If I can just add. Senator, I can just add, just because there is a process, and I agree, the administrators do have system access, and we're decentralized. You have a central unit, but we have schools in almost every village. But I want to answer that very deliberately to say that it's a collective process and we're equally responsible. The school has to put it in the system. The system issues a work order through our through our facilities and maintenance. Facilities and maintenance has to routinely check that and make sure that there's an open system in terms of closing and what's active, pending, and follow-up. So we do have to work together with the schools and our facilities and maintenance, make sure what's in there is active, make sure that they have priority settings on how we address this as to in terms of tiers. This is going to be the emergency first order priority for the team, and then also make sure that there's follow-up. So from the school level, they have system access to enter. They should also be following up if something is not coming. Run that up through our facilities and maintenance. Facilities and maintenance will have to do a priority listing. If these things are lagging and not getting addressed timely, we do have Deputy Erica, who has our administrator meetings, that can be a focal point of discussion. We do have our management meeting that it has to flow upwards, and then we do have access to a work session where the board can say, Superintendent, what are you doing about these issues that are not being addressed? So there is a process in place, and there's different layers to make sure that we are accountable for these things in the system.
If you could commit to a full examination of this process, because I'm just telling you that I've heard from so many different principals that they're frustrated. You know, they're bringing up these issues with Central, and they just feel like the students at GW, unheard and unseen. So I'm telling you there's a problem, and I hope that, for the sake of just moving forward efficiently, that we can remedy any, kinks or delays or issues with that process. And even things along the lines of the principals not being clear on what services these different vendors are supposed to be providing at the school level. That's what I've heard from a principal that, relative to aircon maintenance or grass cutting, they don't know what work the vendor is supposed to be providing. So I don't know if that's going to, obviously I think we need to increase the lines of communication. Yes.
And I totally agree with you, because I have asked that same question. So the three small ones, at least that I know of, the principals are supposed to sign off. And if they don't sign off, then that's an indication that will go right down to procurement, and we'll make sure that we don't pay. So if it's not being done, the principals didn't clear it, then we don't pay. So we go back to the vendors. So it is, and it is as part of my list in my meeting this afternoon with the principals to let them know that.
Thank you. Let's move on now. I wanted to move on, and Phil, I guess we'll just start with the presence of asbestos in classrooms at George Washington High School. As far as I know, I've only heard about the presence of asbestos at the Manilao campus. I'm not sure if it's prevalent in other campuses. Do you know offhand?
I'm not sure, but depending on age, if it was constructed prior to the 70s, possibly. All of them, and quick tell sign is the size of the tiles that are used. They're 9x9s. They're probably asbestos containing.
Has the department taken the initiative and surveyed different sites across the island at the different schools to determine if asbestos is going to be an issue?
I don't know if a determination was made prior to my coming in. I haven't done any. As I deal with the specific issues like GW, then I go in and research. So, case in point, the room 106, as I researched it last night, a full cleanup was done by Allied Environmental back in 2009 or 19. Yeah, so that should be asbestos free. So whatever work that needs to be done in there can be done without all the containment material, the PPEs, etc.
Are you, because go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm good.
When we toured the campus,
Yes.
you seemed to indicate that it could be an issue with other classrooms, because like you said, it's an old building, and if one is, the asbestos is popping up, I know you said you anticipated it could be happening in other classrooms. Is it just the one, or are there others?
As I said, I haven't gone through, and I can go back to the school and visit all the classrooms, but the main campus that was built at the same time would probably, most likely, have the same tile material that's in there. Okay, the fast tracks are newer buildings. They were constructed after.
Yeah, if I may, Senator, on all our walkthroughs, that was the only classroom where it was actually open and looked exposed. All the others didn't look bothered, and it looked okay. The ones that we were worried about, it has been cleared already, with the exception of A106. So Phil had said that was cleared. If I can see the clearance, then we can start putting up the classroom for use.
Phil, you had mentioned yesterday at DOE Central that there was some, I'm not sure what the term is, with the encapsulation, some issues.
Well, yeah, we went into that room. It was A107? A107? I mean, no,
C106.
C106.
That's the classroom.
Yeah, that's where the encapsulation is separated from the submaterial. That I need to look into and see if that was removed. I'm guessing not, because why the encapsulation? That's the whole purpose of encapsulation, is not having to encounter the problem and the exposure to asbestos, right? So once I figure that out, I'm going to have to make a determination how I'm going to approach it. Do we we might as well go in and remove the asbestos-containing material, mastic, and everything, and put regular tiles after we've cleaned it up. But that's a lengthy process. You have to involve a certified industrial hygienist, run tests, screen up the entire, and run negative pressure machines to collect whatever particles are airborne. So that's where we're at with that.
To your knowledge, has Guam EPA ever been engaged during the process of this encapsulation?
Not since I've been involved. I can look, like I said, into the 2019 address of 106 and see if they were involved. I knew this from when I was at GCC. I think one of our contractor was doing work at GW because of the vocational education programs, and by accident, our contractor tossed from the second floor a black bag full of tiles, and it popped open, and an environmental person that was doing another job noticed what it contained. So I got involved in cleaning that up. I was in facilities at GCC, but they had me take care of that. So most of those are containing, I would have to personally do or have people who knows what they're looking at, look through all the rooms to see what are possible issues. But, you know, asbestos tiles, as long as they're laying there, not disturbed and not cracking up, they're fine. It's, do we want to invest the money now to go in and wholesale remove or encapsulate all rooms? That's beyond my level. Somebody's going to have to make that call.
Right. Has this been factored in at all to with any of the long-term plans, facilities, and maintenance?
Not in the ARP, and I don't know, I don't recall that HHF identified that in their report.
That's something you kind of just stumbled upon, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Right. And so just for clarification, because I know you had taken me to one classroom, but I did have some photos of some exposed tile in that classroom, and then you took me to another classroom where you had said that the encapsulation was completed. So exactly how many classrooms at George Washington High School are dealing with the issue, or has the issue of open asbestos, exposed asbestos been dealt with? Is it one or more?
There were four we visited, 3 I've spec'd out already. So the burn room, that's the one I found evidence last night that it was cleaned. So that's good. The science room, it's still encapsulated, except that they've removed whatever was the piece of furniture. It was probably a sink. So now that they've removed that area is exposed. But there's no tile under there, it's concrete. So my guess is it's been cleaned. So the extent of work that the contractor is going to do is trim about 6 inches past because the curling, right? And then do a patchwork on that. So it'll be controlled. There's, like I said, the A106, I still am researching what I need to do to safely get that done.
Would you say it's a safe assumption to assume that asbestos is prevalent in just about every classroom at the Mangilao campus?
In the main buildings that were constructed at the same period, I'm going to say yes. To what extent have been removed or encapsulated to this point? Not sure until, like I said, I walk through or do research.
Mr. Fulo, maybe you could just help me out here, because I know that Mr. Tovas had said, oh, if we don't disturb the tile, then, you know, we should be okay, right? But, you know, we're talking about high school kids, you know, sliding desks back and forth, slamming chairs, just, you know the deal. So how safe are our children at George Washington High School when it comes to exposure to asbestos? And do you think that this issue is something that we need to look more into?
Yeah, definitely the areas where we feel it may have possible issues, we've closed down, right? So students and staff are not allowed there until we get clearance. In terms of our kids being kids on the outside, playing ball and, little horse playing, I don't believe there's any issues of asbestos there, so I think we're okay. As long as we close down the rooms that we feel possibly pose a danger to our students, I think we're okay on that part.
Can I ask, how would students and staff know that there was a danger in those rooms?
They won't know because we close it down. When we do our walkthroughs, every summer we have what we call the SRR. It's the school readiness review. So we go room by room, go review every area, and once
That's the SOP, sir?
yeah,
Okay.
and once we saw that possible issue, we closed it down. We contacted Phil, let him know about it, and say, can we make sure our students are safe and address this? For now, we will ensure it's shut down.
So there's no signage or indications otherwise that to give the staff or the students a heads up that, yeah, this room is
The
closed,
staff
this is
know,
why?
but nobody has the keys to get in except Miss Lena.
Do you believe that GDOE and GW is required to post any type of signage to notify students, stakeholders, staff that there was exposed asbestos?
Yes. So the prior classrooms that Phil was talking about, we had signage, asbestos, yellow tape, everything. This one was relatively new. It came out in 2021, I believe. So from then on, we just closed it down. No signage in that particular part.
Is inspecting the classrooms at GW for any possible cracks where there might be exposed asbestos part of your standard operating procedure for school readiness at GW?
Not specifically for asbestos, but just a general look at what possibly could be issues that will prevent us from opening the classrooms is something that we do regularly.
So was that general inspection conducted prior to the start of the school year?
Yeah. So every beginning of summer, at the end of the year, we do that throughout the whole time, and we make an action plan based on how we can address it.
Have you informed the staff at GW to be on the lookout for any instances of your cracked tile? Because, asbestos is no joke.
Yeah. No, it's not a joke. It's
Yeah.
something we take very seriously, and we don't want to know that 20 years down the line somebody has gotten cancer because of it. We do
Right.
inform our staff, we do inform our teachers to let us know if there are any issues, be inspecting it and be on the lookout.
What do you inform them of? What do you tell them to look out for?
They understand the contract in terms of what they're supposed to see, how the cleaners are supposed to clean the area, anything in terms of like public health inspections. We let them know and let us know if there are issues with that. In addition, we go around and we try to look for it and give ourselves rating and grading to see whether or not we're gonna fail or pass.
But you're not experts, right?
We are not experts. We do our best, right, to try and be as proactive with what we have. However, our job is looking at curriculum, making sure students are learning, facilities, making sure they're in a safe environment, but sometimes those are beyond our expertise.
Have you received any training relative to identifying asbestos or the risks associated with asbestos exposure?
Not specific to asbestos, but we do get training, our staff does get training in terms of facility issues and in terms of what to look for in terms of public health, but specifically asbestos, no.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Phil, the flooding, so the Sea Wing, I popped some pictures up at the start of the hearing. Massive flooding during the rainy season. I know that you had discussed this during the tour. And so if you could just provide a timeline for the remedying of that issue, and is that the flooding specific to
Yes,
just
sir.
that part?
Yes, Senator. First step, I had Bart Cruz, the GPA engineer, do calculation. to make a determination based on the worst case rainfall on Guam, documented, and the pipe size that's there. So apparently that pipe is sufficient to accommodate the worst case rainfall. That event happened, there must be something going under inside the pipe. So I'm going to call out for a plumbing company to come over and do video recording to see what's going on so we can make the fix. So the pipe itself, the sizing is right-sized. We just need to see what the obstruction is inside.
So you're going to run the video snake? Is that basically what you're saying?
I have had to deal with 2 or 3 other restroom sewer line issues. You wouldn't believe how much time I spend looking at plumbing, underground plumbing videos. Yeah, we're going to do that.
And is the flooding at GW, is it just specific to that one area, or are there other trouble spots?
It was just building C, and I kind of did a whole walkthrough of the entire area, and everything pretty much slopes away from the building except for building C. And that's where that one storm drain inlet was designed in. So, and hasn't been a problem except for that one day and some few years ago. So it's maybe 2 instances in 60 years, 50 years. So yeah, there's something going on with the underground piping. So we'll investigate that and we'll resolve it.
In your opinion, is that a lack of maintenance issue, or is it kind of just a freak occurrence?
It's kind of like, yeah, it's age. And you can't maintain pipe that's underground. If it deteriorates. Unfortunately, back in the day, the pipe of choice were cast iron. They're prone to rust. And that's where we're at. They've gone their lifetime.
If we could move on to the bathroom facilities, right? Again, I popped up a bunch of pictures. The sink fixtures,
Yes.
really just disappointing. I know you could change that yourself. I mean, when we went on the tour, you were tightening screws. You had your alderman on your person. But the bathroom facilities at GW, and again, this is district-wide, right? Whether it's a lack of cleanliness, I mean, you could smell where the bathroom is. Sometimes you don't even have to ask, where's the bathroom? Whether it's that or it's, equipment and fixtures in the bathroom. What's the timeline for the repair of, not just GW, because I know that you said that you guys are trying to cast a wide net and maybe do one bid to cover all the bathrooms in the district.
Yeah, so as I said, the SOWs are all complete for the district-wide, except for the Lee School bathroom upgrades. So anticipated time for the procurement process, including AG, we're hoping, is 4 months. Once that is done, the construction of the bathroom or the work itself to upgrade the bathroom is probably about 3 months. So we're talking 7 to 8 months to complete everything. We will not shut everything down. We'll plan it so gradually these things are. And if money is available, we can require our RFQ or our IFBs to have contractors that have the ability to go almost around the clock and weekends, so it doesn't hurt instructional time. Those are some of the things that we can.
That's good, thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on the scope of work and the type of work that's going to be required of this contractor?
So basically, it'll be changing out fixtures. So what I do currently with bathroom reworks, I have the contractor pull off all the toilet bowls, change out the flanges and the wax ring, repair all the flushing mechanism, and if it's a tank type, they replace the hoses, the valves, and we go with quarter turn instead of the full gate valve because they're less maintenance, longer lasting, and we do those for toilets, the urinals, and all the sinks. So essentially, whatever I do contract out, because our guys don't have the capacity or the time, because it's a big job, we're essentially working with an already upgraded restroom.
Are you mandated to install the fixtures and those kind of things that are water-wise, sustainable, et cetera?
Pretty much everything these days are, as far as, you know, they're all high efficiency water consumption. Typically, restrooms these days or toilets are 1.5 gallons, urinals are 1.2. So it's as efficient as the federal or the, you know, governing bodies that regulate them allow them to be, or require them to be.
Thank you, Mr. Tovis. Last round of questions from my colleagues, and I guess we'll start with Senator Joanne Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't really have any questions at this point. I think you've focused on the key issues with regards to maintenance, and today in particular we're focusing on George Washington. I hope the outcome of this is that definitely the dialogue is there, but areas, Madam Superintendent, I hope you follow through, because I think we just all collectively have a greater expectation. I know there are challenges in running infrastructure, buildings, age, we understand that. But I think we all want to sense that the people that are supposed to be on top of it are, and to the degree funding can be provided, we address that. Of course, it's not limitless. There might be a time in your budget you're going to have to prioritize what's most critical, because one of the things, Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask, because it came up with the hiring, is can the committee be provided with a listing of what positions have been hired under ARP? I think we'd be very interested to know, because maintenance has been brought up time and time again that there's a need. I want to see there's a whole list of maintenance people that have been hired. If you only have 25, I think we'd like to know where that money's going and what priority positions, or what positions has DOE prioritized. With that, I don't have any questions. Look forward to a continued dialogue with regards to
Just to let you know that
Department of Education.
I did request that information from the two deputies, so.
Then can you provide copies to us? And we'd like to see also. I mean, it's one thing to say what we need, and DOE is very good at saying, well, we need this, we need that, but at the other end, as Senator Frank Blas had brought up, and at the time that the pay raise came up to us on the floor of the legislature, we saw the whole list of facilities that money was supposed to go to for maintenance. So to come crying to us now that these things have not been addressed when other things were prioritized and politicized with the front office before an election, you know, that kind of stuff just doesn't sit very well.
Well, just to let you know that the kind of information that I asked for is not just the position title, but how are they being used, what schools, you know,
We'd like to know, because we'd also like to know what's the intention to sustain these positions as the money's disappearing, because it is disappearing, and that's a concern I have with funding being used for that purpose.
And the last thing is position description.
Certainly, when you get that copy, if our committee
Sure.
could get a chair, because we definitely like to know as well what DOE has prioritized with the use of those funds. With that, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for coming today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown. So could you provide that info when you get it? Thank you. Senator Fisher?
Thank you very much. I'm interested in the idea of asbestos in the schools. Is it true that we know some of our school facilities currently contain asbestos, either as tiles, ceiling, wall paint, crayons, whatever?
The research have really basically said that schools or facilities that were built prior to 1970, basically, and you have those, what they call 9x9 tiles,
Yeah.
that they do have asbestos. And I went through this at my school before, and I had maintenance encapsulate the classroom before we were able to work with EPA, because you need to have the whole gear and follow the protocol to make sure that if they remove it, that the guys are protected. And then there's a process also to bag them, and then where now are you going to take them? As the Senator, you would know that you used to head, of course, EPA.
Sure.
That was the process.
Do we have schools on Guam that were built before 1970?
Yes.
Okay.
Majority of them.
All of them. Yeah. So with that being the case, is it a fair bet that some of these schools may contain asbestos?
Yes.
Okay. And then I would turn this question to your attorney, Mr. Nasis. Now that we know that asbestos is a carcinogen, a highly dangerous carcinogen, and now that we know some of our facilities contain asbestos, and now that we know we are sending children as well as teachers into these facilities, does the Department of Education wonder about whether or not it has exposed itself to significant asbestos liability? I mean, because you guys know it's there and you're still sending people in there, so I don't think this is discretionary. I don't think that you enjoy qualified immunity on this one.
Sir, thank you, Senator. Again, I think in conjunction with management, I think we would address this issue.
I'm sorry?
I think this issue would be addressed in conjunction with both legal and with management moving forward. So I would imagine, yes, we would consider all of those issues, the legal issues as well.
Okay. I don't know, but if I was a smart tort lawyer, I would smell some blood in the water here. Are you aware of anyone in the Department of Education? Are you aware of any complaints from teachers? Let's stick with teachers or maintenance or anybody that works in a school. Any citations for increased cases of lung cancer, mesothelioma, or any other sort of cancer?
I think that data actually is being kept by that data is being collected by the University of Guam, the cancer program that they have there, and public health.
So they're investigating whether or not there was a
that I don't know, but I've heard from others that data is being collected by UOG, and then of course, unfortunately, at the end stage is when that information goes to public health. Yeah,
I would just suggest that issue should go to the very, very top of your inbox, because that's why I was having that colloquy with Attorney Nasis here. The question is whether or not Guam enjoys immunity, and it may be under certain circumstances we have waived immunity from lawsuit. And I would ask that your department, because it could bankrupt you, I would ask that your department look into that issue carefully. I might be completely wrong. I hope I am, but if I'm not, it could be a very ugly reckoning. But anyway, sticking with asbestos, the chair distributed, I think you all got it too, it's from the EPA website about asbestos in the schools, and they give us a bunch of bullet points here that they recommend for an school asbestos management plan. Do we follow that? Do we have something similar to that? Sorry, I don't mean to surprise you. Do we catalog the name and address of each school and whether the building has asbestos-containing building material? Either we do or we don't.
Honestly, I don't think we do, and I might be wrong.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this only is because this only comes up whenever there is, an incident, like I said, with individual schools. I know that in my school, I didn't bring this before the department until when it happened in 1992.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I know of my school.
Okay.
2 classrooms. But now, of course, we're hearing that there are 4 at GW. So I think this is, it surfaces when, when there is any movement, in particular when there's a change of, tiles in the classroom.
Okay, but I guess the Environmental Protection Agency is recommending that we essentially conduct a survey of all of our schools to find out whether or not they've got asbestos. If so, they want us to collect the date of the original inspection, a plan for re-inspections, description of any response action, copy of the analysis of any building, et cetera, and so forth. I think you guys have this in your package.
Yeah, so,
Would
so we can do that.
Okay.
That should not be a
It's-
problem. I'll discuss that with the principals
I
today.
think, yeah, I think that that would be a great idea, because I think that as you speak to your attorneys about this, I'm sure that they will point out that our adherence to a suggested rule by the Environmental Protection Agency would go a long way in showing our good faith in dealing with this carcinogen and avoiding a very unfortunate payday. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. I just also have you know that we did have Guam EPA representatives standing by in the Zoom room. However, they went to lunch, so, right, yeah. But I'm going to follow up on this. I don't want this to be another thing like fleas, rats, structural issues that we just kind of, laugh away. It's a serious issue. I mean, there's a lot of literature. There's a lot of regulations related to asbestos, specifically in schools. And
it's apparently serious enough that UOG is tracking it.
yeah, well, no, I think that Dr. Wampa is talking about UOG tracks general cancer data, and then they break it down into the plethora of the different cancers. But you're right. I mean, asbestos is tied to specific ones. So after that data is looked at and broken down, I'm pretty sure that we would have some numbers, and then maybe be able to make a better determination on whether or not there's been effects of asbestos. But I mean, we're talking about asbestos in our classrooms. At the start of this hearing, I swear I thought I heard somebody say it was one. Now we're finding out it's more. And I would just say that schools are definitely a high traffic area, right? You talk about disturbing the tiles. I mean, to me, it's an environment that's ripe for corruption, for lack of a better word, of just the environment in the classroom. Please take those home, right? So it'll freak me out when I read it last night. And I hope we can get this information out. I know Guam EPA might be watching. Any parents, stakeholders, this is definitely a subject that's worth looking into, because as everyone here has said, we have a lot of schools that were constructed during that window of concern. Senator Sabina Paris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the retiring speaker covered a lot of ground on asbestos, but I do want to encourage that you do work with Guam EPA to develop this asbestos management plan. There's another thing, though, potentially that you can partner with GEPA, is the radon. So I believe they might have the testing equipment, but that's something that probably should be tested as well. So I just want to thank everybody for their stamina here, and this is not the end of the discussion, it's just the beginning of collaborating further. So Satuus Masi, everybody.
Definitely want to echo Senator Perez's sentiments. Thank you so much for coming out. I don't know who said it, but it's an all-hands-on-deck approach that I think is required to turn around our schools. And again, I'm very grateful that you're able to come here and share all the information that you've shared. I think some of the takeaways, I believe that there are areas of concern that members of this committee can help address, especially relative to this logjam. And I'll just say it, I've heard a million times that the AG's office is where contracts go to die, or at least it's purgatory if they're not dying. And I don't see that situation getting better when you read about the issues of retention they're having up at the AG's office, right? But I'll also just say that it's frustrating when you hear about some procurements that go smoothly, like procurement of washers and dryers for schools, that we couldn't even hook up these washers and dryers at these schools because nobody thought far enough ahead. And everybody knows it, the washers and dryers, they got those funny plugs, right? It's not your regular plug, it's the funny one. We didn't even think of that. We bought all these washers and dryers that are sitting in the conference room at GDOE Central. So it's frustrating as a parent to hear that procurement for that kind of stuff goes really smooth, and procurement for the important things, we're going on our third procurement. And Yeah, I guess that is another question. Well, yes, Speaker. Yes, ma'am.
You know, there's always two sides of the story, because I had the same thought when I came in and I found the first floor loaded with, you know, PPEs and other equipment and supplies that really should be at the school. So they are going out. So I did inquire as to why did we buy washers and dryers
Right.
when we know then that we need to also have a procurement to suit up, you know, the facility for 220 volts. And it turns out to be a totally separate requisition that's going out. So one to purchase and then the other then to be able to have somebody, you know, go in and retrofit, you see, the electrical
Right.
wiring. But trust me, all of the questions you're asking, I'm asking as
Thank you.
well.
Right.
And, you know, I'm getting some answers, maybe not to my satisfaction, but so long as I'm there, I'm going to make sure the left hand is talking to the right hand.
Yeah, definitely seems like our hands are not talking to each other. And I've heard, I mean, other issues, concerns with these washers, dryers, even the air cons is, you know, a lot of the electrical systems at our schools, you atambaba it and it's a short circuit. So, I mean, there are definitely a lot of issues. On your end, though, we're going to do our part. I've committed, so committed all the way to work collaboratively to find you guys the powers, the tools you need along with the members of this committee and this body to really turn the corner, because I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of hearing the same old things. And I think that this pandemic has, in a lot of ways, been a great awakening for many of us. Many of us took stock of our lives and our situations and decided that, hey, I want to run for senator, or, you know, hey, I want to take up a new hobby, or, hey, I want to put these problems that we've been talking about for the last 40 years to bed once and for all. And that's kind of the sentiment I'm getting. We're going to do our part. On your end, though, we need to make better decisions, especially with these procurements. You know, I hear a lot of things at the schools. I hear things like we buy air cons from one vendor, and then we hire another vendor to maintain them, and then that breaks the warranty with the first vendor. And so I like the creativity you're getting in terms of breaking up some of these projects that would be really impossible for a smaller company to take on, and breaking them up into smaller contracts, you know, for a few schools. And I like that idea. And I think that we need to do less procurements 3 times in a row and more smooth procurements with the things that really matter. And granted, I know that I really want to just share with the GECO stakeholders, and I don't know, because we met at GDOE Central yesterday, and you said that there was the award was going to be rescinded for the procurement of the gym, and that the new bid. So that has it been rescinded?
I'm not sure. Has it? The second, number 2, rescinded? Yeah, the second one has been rescinded.
Okay.
So the process on the third
again,
is
want to
going.
share with my GECO stakeholders, and especially the students. And I mean, I'm embarrassed because we were there, and you know, the situation was different then, and I committed to the students that we would have the gym fixed by summer. And that's not going to happen. But I just got to say, the second procurement, and I'm pretty sure it'll come up a little bit later, I don't think that this was any fault of GDOE's. Now that's about as much as I could say, I think. Right, I'm getting that to Baba from their attorney here. But that being said, I want to again thank you guys. I have an open door, open phone, open DM policy. Not just for you, but anybody out there who's watching. Again, if we're going to work collaboratively and fix a lot of these issues, we have to take stock of the issues that we're going to fix. And so I thank you. I know there's a lot of uncomfortable truths with our schools out there, but I'm glad to see that we're all on the same page and committed to moving forward and getting to that action, right? And that's what I think that our students, our schools, and our families deserve. So thank you so much. And let me go to my closing here. I want to thank my colleagues, my members of this committee. And if there are no further questions or comments, and I believe there aren't any, this concludes this roundtable hearing. We highly encourage, again, written testimony from the public and any community partners unable to attend the roundtable today. We did receive some written testimony from the, I believe, the De La Rosa family that sent a few letters, basically talking about the lost time that they've got. We talk about, and I don't want to, I think for some people maybe the issue of a gym, it's oversimplified. Oh, well, what does a gym matter if they have the classrooms? But we're taking these memories away from these kids. And it isn't just about memories. We have a lot of scholar athletes, right, who may have wanted to get a scholarship to a university, playing basketball or playing volleyball or playing any number of sports that they would be able to play in not even a perfect world, but a regular world. And so we're taking that opportunity away from them. And so I want to thank everybody. Again, the committee will continue to accept written statements on today's hearing within 10 business days from today, which may be mailed out of my office on the second floor of the Guam Congress Building at 163 Chalon, Santo Papa in Agotnya. You may also send your statements to us at malafunction@guamlegislature.org. That's MALAFUNKSHUN at guamlegislature.org. Thank you again for your participation. This public hearing is adjourned at 1:35. Enjoy your lunch. Está. Adios.